adjust the height of my mic for points your follow stream. So I turned on the directional mic too. I kinda need my max. To max my phone volume. Yeah, go for it. Wait. Okay, it's just 75%. So hello everyone. Resorts World Manila. I decided to try out like what it would be like if I did a whisper stream like this. We also I declare. How are you guys? It's also to kind of gauge if I can even do this for how long I forgot to turn off the pit sound alerts. Hello, Monzi. This is a free whisper stream, I guess. But yeah, 30 minutes is an achievement. Honey. That was a very expensive. Hi, honey. Congrats on the 7 stream streak. So, hello, everyone. Oh my god, wait, was that too loud? Welcome to my first whisper stream. It's a stock background on VTube Studio. But yeah, so today, I think everyone knows. Don't worry, as long as you guys can still hear me. Maybe when this becomes a bit more mainstream or like a regular occurrence, we'll get a better background. But today, we're basically just going to be reading some horror stories in the spirit of Halloween because I'm too chicken. I'm too chicken to play horror games. Jayu. You make the text so small. You guys can hear my coffee. Probably not. We gift you the horror games. I'm now inclined to whisper as well. I'll play like horror games, I guess, because it's a gift. But yeah, I'm a coward, so no promises I'll finish it. So I heard that of H.P. Lovecraft stories, The Rats in the Walls, and the case of Charles Dexter Ward are probably like the creepier ones. And apparently they're not actually horror. Also, I realized that the lo-fi music is probably like really soft for you guys. Oh no, wait, desktop audio is muted. Yeah, so before we start, any questions, any story suggestions that you'd prefer, say it now, or I will start reading like a completely. What music? Yeah, it was muted. I wanted to like play some creepy music, but I realized I might end up muted and it might get DMCA'd. Oops. I don't know any stories, so go for it. This is actually probably like the first time I'm also reading these stories. We're probably going to like decide together if it's great. Sadly, there's ads, so for people who are sleeping, good morning. If the ads suddenly wake you up, so rate out of 10. first story that we're going to read is called The Rats in the Walls by Lovecraft. I guess it's about rats in the wall. I really can't take this seriously. If ads suddenly wake us up, then you're gonna read again and again. Cute background. Hello, King of Salt. How are you doing? We're going to be reading The Rats in the Walls by Lovecraft, and I've been saying that over and over again. So I just start reading it, you know. Seriously. On 16th July 1923, I moved into Exham Priory after the last workman had finished his labors. I forgot which button was which, sorry. The restoration had been a stupendous task, for little had remained of the deserted pile but a shell-like ruin. Yet because it had been the seat of my ancestors, I let no expense deter me. The place had not been inhabited since the reign of James I, when a tragedy of intensely hideous, through largely unexplained nature had struck down the master. 5 of his children and several servants, driven forth under a cloud of suspicion and terror, the third son, my lineal progenitor, and the only survivor of the abhorred line. Why is it so wordy? With his sole heir denounced as a murderer, the estate had reverted to the crown, nor had the accused man made any attempt to exculpate himself to regain his property. Shaken by some horror greater than that of conscience or the law, and expressing only a frantic wish to exclude the ancient edifice of his sight and memory, Walter de la Poer, 11th Baron of Exham, fled to Virginia, and there founded the family, which by the next century had become known as de la Poer. If I stop replying, I fell asleep IRL. I can't believe it's working. Well, that's what it was meant to do, so I'm glad it's working. You're going to occasionally hear me drink coffee. Exham Priory had remained untenanted, though later allotted to the estates of the Norris family, and much studied because of its peculiarly composite architecture, an architecture involving Gothic towers resting on a Saxon or Romanesque substructure. Hi, Madame C. How are you doing? We're doing a full whisper stream, so this is why I'm talking like this. Whose foundation was of still earlier order, or blend of orders Roman and even Druidic nature. If legends speak truly, the foundation was a singular thing, being merged on one side with a solid limestone of the precipice, from whose brink the priory overlooked the desolate valley, 3 miles west of the village of Anchester. Clarence is also whispering. Wow, that's a cute animated emote. Architects and antiquarians love to examine the strange relic of forgotten centuries, but the country folk hated it. They hated it hundreds of years before, when my ancestors lived there. They hated it now. I don't know, I felt like I have to whisper. And mold of abandonment. I had not been a day in Anchester before I knew I came of an accursed house, and this week workmen have blown up Exham Priory and are busy obliterating the traces of its foundations. The bare statistics of my ancestry have always known together with the fact first American forebear had become the colonies under a strange cloud. Thank you for the lurk, madame. Don't need to watch the VOD. You might just fall asleep. Stay safe. The bare statistics of my ancestry I'd always known, together with the fact that my first American forebear had come to the colonies under a strange cloud. Of details, however, I had been kept wholly ignorant. Through the policy of reticence always maintained by the Telebors, unlike our planter neighbors, we seldom boasted of crusading ancestors or other medieval and Renaissance heroes, nor was any kind of tradition handed down except what may have been recorded in the sealed envelope left below the Civil War by every squire to his eldest son for posthumous opening. I tiptoe, yes, free whisper Monsi. It's essentially just because it's Halloween, so we're reading horror stories. Though I'm not very horrified so far. The tingles. Yeah, I even put directional mic on. So if I talk here, it's probably closer to your left ear. And if it's here, it might be closer to your right. I'm not sure. Hold on. Yeah, it's not in mono. I might get DMCA'd if I put on eerie music. Hi, Eddie Mar. So, there we go. I think it's because it's an actual short story, so it's a bit draggy. And I'm going to nap queer ends. During the war, our fortunes were extinguished, and our whole existence changed by the burning of Carfax, our home on the banks of the James. My grandfather, advanced in years, had perished in that incendiary outrage, and with him, the envelope that had bound us all to the past. I can recall that fire today as I saw it then at the age of 7. With the federal soldiers shouting, the women screaming, and the negroes howling and praying. Am I allowed to say that on Twitch? How is it with earphones, Monsi? My father was in the army, defending Richmond, and after many formalities, my mother and I were passed through the lines to join them. Hold on, I should probably put the title of the book we're reading. Or unpinned. Let's hope that US police fell asleep and didn't hear. Same. I feel like that's a quick emote I can do. Literally just screenshot my mouth and my eyes. Okay, anyway, back to reading it. When the war ended, we all moved north, as my mother had come, and I grew to middle age and ultimate wealth as a stolid Yankee. Neither my father nor I ever knew what our hereditary envelope had contained. And as I merged into the grayness of Massachusetts business life, I lost all interest in the mysteries which evidently lurked far back in the family tree. Had I suspected their nature, how gladly I would have left Exham Priory to its moss, bats, and cobwebs. My father died in 1904, without any message to leave me, or to my child, Alfred, a motherless boy of 10. It was this boy who reversed the order of family information, for although I could give him only ancestral legends when the late war took him to England in 1917 as an aviation officer. Apparently, the teleports had a colorful and perhaps sinister history. For a friend of my son's, Captain Edward Norrie of the Royal Flying Corps, dwelt near the family seat at Anchester and related some peasant superstitions which few novelists could equal for wildness and incredibility. Norris himself, of course, did not take them so seriously, but they amused my son and made good material for his letters. It was this legendary, which definitely turned my attention to my transatlantic heritage and made me resolve to purchase and restore the family seat, which Norris showed to Alfred in its picturesque desertion, and offered to get for him at a surprisingly reasonable figure, since his own uncle was the present owner. I bought Exum in 1918, but was almost immediately distracted from my plans of restoration by the return of my son as a maimed invalid. During the 2 years that he lived, I thought of nothing but his care, having even placed my business under the directions of partners. In 1921, as I found myself bereaved and aimless, a retired manufacturer no longer young, I resolved to divert my remaining years with my new possessions. Visiting Anchester in December, I was entered by Captain Norris, a plump, amiable young man who had thought much of my son and secured his assistance in gathering plans and anecdotes to guide in the coming restoration. Exum Priory saw itself without emotion. Hello, Sildon. How are you? A jumble of tottering medieval ruins, covered with lichens and honeycombed with rooks, thus perched perilously upon the precipice, and denuded the floor of other interior features, save the stone walls of the separate towers. As I gradually recovered the image of the edifice, as it has been when my ancestors left it over 3 centuries before, I began to hire workmen for the reconstruction. In every case, I was forced to go outside. The immediate locality where the Anchester villagers had an almost unbelievable fear and hatred of the place. The sentiment was so great that it was sometimes communicated to the outside laborers, causing numerous desertions, while its scope appeared to include both the priory and its ancient family. My son had told me that he was somewhat avoided during his visits because he was a de la Poer, and now I found myself suddenly ostracized for a like reason until I convinced the peasants how little I knew of my heritage. Even then, they sullenly disliked me, so that I had to collect most of the village traditions through the mediations of Norris. What few people could not forgive, perhaps, was that I had come to restore a symbol so abhorrent to them. For rationally or not, they viewed Exum as nothing less than a haunt of fiends and werewolves. Piecing together the tale which Norris collected for me, and supplementing them with the accounts of several savants who had studied the ruins, I deduced Exum stood on the site of a prehistoric temple, a druidical or anti-druidical thing which must have been contemporary with Stonehenge. That indescribable rites had been celebrated there. Few doubted that there were unpleasant tales of the transference of those rites into the Sibyl worship which the Romans had introduced. Inscriptions still visible in the subcellar bore such unmistakable letters as Div, Ops, Magna, Mat, sign of the Magna Mater whose dark worship was once vainly forbidden to the Roman citizens. Manchester had been the camp of the Third Augustan Legion. It would be so funny if a family member walked into you doing ASMR. Nobody's home right now, actually. So I think I'm safe. No one will be home till 5 p.m. Manchester had been the camp of the Third Augustan Legion, as many remains attest, and it was said that the Temple of Cybele was splendid and thronged with worshippers who performed nameless ceremonies at the bidding of a brigand priest. Tales added that the fall of the old religion did not end the orgies at the temple, but the priests lived on in the new faith without real change. Likewise, it was said that the rites did not vanish with the Roman power, and that certain among the Saxons added to what remained of the temple. It gave it the essential outline it subsequently preserved, making it the center of a cult feared through half the Heptarchy. About 1000 AD, the place is mentioned in a chronicle as being a substantial stone priory housing strange and powerful monastic order and surrounded by extensive gardens, which needed no walls to exclude a frightened populace. It was never destroyed by the Danes, though after the Norman conquest, it must have been declined tremendously. Whoops. Since there was no impediment when Henry III granted the site to my ancestor, Gilbert de la Poer, first Baron of Exham. Of my family before this date, there's no evil report, but something strange must have happened then. In one chronicle, there is a reference to a de la Poer as cursed of God in 1307, whilst village legendary had nothing but evil and frantic fear to tell of the castle that went up on the foundations of the old temple and priory. The fireside tales were of the most grisly description, and the ghastlier because of their frightened reticence and cloudy evasiveness. They represented my ancestors as a race of hereditary demons beside whom Gilles de Retz and the Marquis de Sade would seem the veriest tyros, and hinted whisperingly at their responsibility for the occasional disappearances of villagers through several generations. Thank you for the hydrate. Hold on. And then I realized, yeah, I need water. These characters apparently were the parents and their direct heirs. At least most was whispered about these. If a healthier inclinations, it was said, the heir would early and mysteriously die to make way for another, more typical scion. There seemed to be an inner cult in the family, presided over by the head of the house, and sometimes closed, except to a few members. Temperament rather than an ancestry was evident. The basis of this cult. Thank you for contributing to the Valorant stream. It was entered by several who married into the family. Lady Margaret Trevor of Cornwall, wife of Godfrey, the second son of the 5th Baron, became a favorite bane of children all over the countryside, and the demon heroine of a particularly horrible old ballad, not yet extinct near the Welsh border, preserved in balladry too. As the hideous tale of Lady Mary de la Poer. confessed what they dare not repeat to the world. These myths and ballads, typical as they were of crude superstition, repelled me greatly. Their persistence and their application to so long the light of my ancestors were especially annoying. I was much less disturbed by the vaguer tales of the wails and howlings of the Baron wind-swept valley beneath the limestone cliff, of the graveyard stenches of the spring rains, of the floundering, squealing white thing on which Sir John Clave's horse had trod one night in a lonely field, and of the servant who had gone mad at what he saw in the priory. These things were hackneyed spectral lore, and I was at that time a pronounced skeptic. The accounts of vanished peasants were less to be dismissed, though not especially significant in the view of medieval custom. Prying curiosity meant death, and more than one severed head had been publicly shown on the bastions now effaced around the priory. A few of the tales were exceedingly picturesque and made me wish I had learned more of the comparative mythology in my youth. There was, for instance, the belief that a legion of bat-winged devils kept witches' Sabbath each night at the priory. A legion whose sustenance might explain the disproportionate abundance of the coarse vegetables harvested in the vast gardens. And most vivid of all, there was the dramatic epic of the rats, the scampering army of obscene vermin which had burst forth from the castle 3 months after the tragedy that doomed to the desertion the lean, filthy, ravenous army which had swept all before it and devoured fowl, cats, dogs, hogs, sheep, and even 2 hapless human beings before its fury was spent. Around that unforgettable rodent army was a whole separate cycle of myths, revolves where it scattered among the village homes and brought curses and horrors in its train. Such was the lore that assailed me as I pushed to completion, with the elderly obstinacy, the work of restoring my ancestral home. It must not be imagined for a moment that these tales formed my principal psychological environment. On the other hand, I was constantly praised and encouraged by Captain Norris, the antiquarians who surrounded and aided me. When the task was done, over 2 years after its commencement, I viewed the great rooms, wainscoted walls, vaulted ceilings, mullioned windows, and broad staircase with a pride which fully compensated for the prodigious expense of the restoration. Sorry. First time whispering for an extended period of time. Did we finally hit the ASMR arc? Not sure of whether, but in the spirit of Halloween, I'm reading a Lovecraftian story for you guys. Particularly horrified though. Sheesh, look at that 97% riz. Attribute of the Middle Ages was cunningly reproduced, and the new parts blended perfectly with the original walls and foundations. The seat of my fathers was complete, and I look forward to redeeming at last the local fame of the line which ended in me. I could reside here permanently and prove that a teleport need not be a fiend. My comfort was perhaps augmented by the fact that although Exham was medievally fitted, its interior was in truth wholly new and free from old vermin and old ghost Wait. The the noise suppression is preventing it. Hold on. I should have tried this more. Let's remove it. It's cheap. Okay, wait. I think like another person actually like holds their mic like next to their heart, like as a heartbeat, and I'm like, do I do that? Cause like, is that even gonna like be heard if I do it? Like literally just hug the mic. Yeah, no, it's not picking up. I think I need like a 3DO or something for that to be picked up. But yeah. Yes, someone was actually doing heartbeat ASMR. So my aircon is not getting cooler, so I'm gonna lower the temperature. Hold on. You're gonna spoil us too much. But then I don't know when's the next time I'm going to do this. So I'll have fun with it. But yeah, I don't think it picks up my heartbeat. Or maybe like my heartbeat is just too soft. Yeah, no, it's not picking up anything. I probably need like a mic inside the heartbeat. The next stream. And then the stream after. And after that. Maybe when I can afford a 3DO. Like that's a very expensive investment. I was looking it up. Good night. Oh no. Wait, oh my god. It'd be too much to ask you to do cardio, but no. I did my cardio this morning. You're just gonna hear me dying. So no, thank you. Going back to the story though. My household consisted of several servants. 7 servants and 9 cats. Of which latter species I am particularly fond of. For 5 days our routine proceeded with the utmost placidity. My time being spent mostly in the codification of old family data. I now obtained some very circumstantial accounts. Yeah, because if I do cardio, obviously I'd be panting. So no, we will not be doing cardio. Which I convinced to be the probable contents of the hereditary paper lost in the fire at Carfax. It appeared that my ancestor was accused with much reason of having killed all the members of his household, except 4 servant confederates in their sleep, about 2 weeks after a shocking discovery, which changed his whole demeanor, but which, except by implication, he disclosed to no one save perhaps the servants who assisted him, and afterwards fled beyond reach. What kind of cardio? Oh, just a treadmill. Gym. Also, I don't know why, but like the mic is fading in and out because there's rain. Like loud rain in the background. This deliberate slaughter, which included a father, 3 brothers, and 2 sisters, was largely condoned by the villagers and so slackly treated by the law that its perpetrator escaped honored, unharmed, and undisguised to Virginia. The general whispered sentiment being that he had purged the land of an immemorial curse. What discovery had prompted an act so terrible, I could scarcely even conjecture. Walter de la Poer must have known for years the sinister tales about his family, so that this material could have gotten him no fresh impulse had he then witnessed some appalling, ancient rite, or stumbled upon some frightful and revealing symbol in the priory or its vicinity. He was reputed to have been a shy, gentle youth in England. In Virginia, he seemed not so much hard or bitter,
Ding ding, bitch.
as harassed and apprehensive.
Okay, nobody heard that.
Hello, Taiki. Spoken of in the diary of a gentleman, adventurer, Francis Harley of Bellevue, is a man of unexampled justice, honor, and delicacy. On 22 July occurred the first incident which, though lightly dismissed at the time, takes on a preternatural significance in relation to the later events. It was so simple as to be almost negligible and could not have been noticed under the circumstances. For it must be recalled that since I was in a building practically fresh and new except for the walls, and surrounded by a well-balanced staff of servitors, apprehension would have been absurd despite the locality. Afterward, it's merely that my old black cat, whose moods I know so well, was undoubtedly alert and anxious, to an extent wholly out of keeping with his natural character. He roved from room to room, restless and disturbed, and sniffed constantly about the walls which form part of the Gothic structure. I realize how trite this sounds, like the inevitable dog in the ghost story, which always growls before his master sees the sheet figure, yet I cannot consistently suppress it. Also, let me know if you guys hear the rain in the background. It's storming pretty badly. The following day, a servant complained of restlessness among all the cats in the house. He came to me in my study, a lofty west room on the 2nd story, with groined arcs, black oak panel, a triple Gothic window overlooking the limestone cliff and desolate valley. I don't to put you guys outside. I've barely been out of this basement. And even as he spoke, he saw the jetty form of my cat creeping along the west wall and scratching at the new panels which overlaid the ancient stone. I told him it must be a singular odor or emanation from the old stonework, perceptible to human senses, but affecting the delicate organs of cats, even though the new woodwork, even through the new woodwork, I truly believe, suggested the presence of mice or rats. I mentioned that there had been no rats for 300 years, and that even the field mice of the surrounding country could hardly be found in these high walls, and when they had never been known to stray. That afternoon, I called Captain Norris, and he assured me that it would be quite incredible for field mice to infest the priory in such a sudden and unprecedented fashion. That night, dispensing as usual with a valet, I retired to the West Tower chamber, which I had chosen as my own. Retired mostly by a stone staircase and short gallery. The former partly ancient, the latter entirely restored. The room was circular. Very high and without wainscoting, being huge and hung with arrows which I had myself chosen in London. Seems my cat was with me. I shut the bucolic doors and retired by the light of the electric bulbs, which so cleverly counterfeited candles. Finally switching off the light and sinking on the carved and canopied poster with the venerable cat in his accustomed place across my feet. I did not draw the curtains, but gazed out the narrow window which I faced. Oh God, I'm getting sleep. It's a suspicion of aurora in the sky, and the delicate traceries of the window were pleasantly silhouetted. Some time I must have fallen quietly asleep, for I recall a distinct sense of leaving strange dreams when the cat stared violently from his placid position. I saw in the faint auroral glow and strained forward, 4 feet at my ankles, and the hind feet stretched behind. He was looking intensely at a point in the wall, somewhat west of the window, which to my eye had nothing to mark it, but toward which all my attention was now directed. And as I watched, I knew my cat was not vainly excited. Whether the arrows actually moved, I cannot say. I think it did, very slightly, but what I can swear to it is that behind it, low, distinct, scurrying as rats or mice, therein. In a moment, the cat had jumped bodily on the screening tapestry, being the affected section of the floor with his weight, and exposing a damp ancient wall of stone, patched here and there by the restorers, and devoid of any trace of rodent prowlers. My cat raced up down the floor by this part of the wall, clawing the fallen arrows and seemingly trying at times to insert a paw between the walls and oaken floors. Found nothing. After time returned wearily to his place across my feet. I had not sleep again that night. Questioned all the servants and found that none had noticed anything unusual. Save the cook remembered the actions of a cat which had rested on her windowsill. This cat howled at some point, at some unknown hour of the night. Awaking the cook in time for her to see him dart purposely out of the open door down the stairs. I drowsed away at the noontime, and in the afternoon called again on Captain Norris, who became exceedingly interested in what I told him. Wait, did my perm get gone? No. Oh my God. How embarrassing. It's away at noontime, and in the afternoon, so slight yet so curious. Okay. I thought my perm got gone, and I was so worried. The odd incident, so slightly yet so curious, appealed to a sense of the picturesque and elicited from him a number of reminiscences of local ghostly lore, pure I retired early, being very sleepy. I was harassed by dreams of the most horrible sort. I seemed to be looking down from an immense height upon a dwelled grotto, knee deep with filth, where a white-bearded demon swineherd drove above with his staff, a flocking fungus, flabby beasts whose appearance filled me with unutterable loathing. Then, as the swineherd passed, nodded over his task, a nightly swarm of rats hurried down on the stinking abyss and fell to devouring beasts, manner alike. After eating lunch, yeah, it's nap time, Aldarian. Even I'm very tempted to nap. Plus, like, it's pretty dark here, and it's raining. Thank you for the hydrate. Let me just refill my water. Stay away, you dibble dibble. Don't tempt me. There's nothing wrong with napping. It's only 30 minutes. Don't worry, you won't sleep the day away. From this terrific vision, I was abruptly awakened by the motions of my cat, who had been sleeping as usual across my feet. This time I did not have to question the source of his snarls and hisses, and of the fear which made him sink his claws into my ankle, unconscious of their effect, for on every side of the chamber walls were alive with nauseous sound venom, the verminous slithering of ravenous, gigantic rats. There was no aurora to show the state of the arras, the fallen section of which had been replaced, but I was not too frightened to switch on the lights. If I don't reply, I swear I didn't pass out. Alright, we trust that you did not fall into temptation, Aldarian. As the bulb leapt into radiance, I saw hideous shaking all over the tapestry, causing the somewhat peculiar designs to execute a singular dance of death. This motion disappeared almost at once, and sound with it. Springing out of bed, I poked at the arras with the long handle of a warming pan that rested near, and lifted one section to see what lay beneath. There was nothing but the patched stone walls, and even the cat had lost its tense realization of abnormal presences. When I examined the circular trap that had been placed in the room, I found all of the openings sprung, though no trace of what had been caught and had escaped. I was so engrossed, the chicken I thought was cooked thrown inside. Oh no. Felix, please cook your chicken properly. We do not want salmonella. Hold on, let me just turn on the lights, because I am also falling asleep. Medium rare chicken. Please do not eat medium rare chicken. question. So, lighting a candle, I opened the door and went down in the gallery towards the stairs of my study. My cat followed at my heels before we had reached the stone steps. Hi, Sin. How are you? We're, reading Lovecraftian horror stories. And I don't know why I'm gassy, I keep burping. The cat darted ahead and vanished down the ancient flight as I descended the stairs myself. I became suddenly aware of sounds in the great room below. Sounds of a nature which could not be mistaken. I'm doing well, Sin. If you really want to fall asleep, you need to read Engineering Mathematics 1. Maybe one day I'll have like a finance lecture or a financial modeling lecture. Basically, what I'll do is I'll just teach you guys how I do financial modeling for work while whispering. So you'll hear me clicking away at the keyboard at the same time talking about revenue. It's basically what is the product you sell, how many did you sell, and at what sale price. This is how you properly format your financial model. The oak panel walls were alive with rats, scampering and milling, whilst my cat was racing about with the fury of a baffled hunter. I was not expecting to hear ASMR today. Me too. But here we are. We're testing it out to see how much of it I can actually handle. And so far, it's been an hour, and I'm already sleepy myself. She's normally ASMR. Today, she's extra ASMR. Actually struggling to stay awake ASMR. I'm yawning. It's been 58 minutes. Reaching the bottom, I switched on the light, which did not this time cause the noise to subside. The rats continued their riot, stampeding with force and distinctness that I could finally assign their motions to a definite direction. These creatures in numbers, apparently inexhaustibles, were engaged in one stupendous migration from inconceivable heights to some depth conceivably or inconceivably below. I found something to add to the food coma. Is it medium rare chicken with a side of salmonella? My kind of cake Altarian. Hi, Desync. How are you? We're doing a whisper stream today, so I think this might not be the stream that you'll enjoy unless you're up for a nap. Fondant cake. Ooh, that sounds really nice. I now heard steps in the corridor. In another moment, two servants pushed open the massive door. They were struggling. They were searching the house for some unknown source of disturbance, which had thrown all the cats into a snarling panic and caused them to plunge precipitately down several flights of stairs and squat, yowling, before the closed door to the sub-cellar. I asked them if they had heard the rats, but they replied in the negative, and when I turned to call their attention to the sound in the panels, I realized the noise had ceased. You found cake. How long has it been? How much time has it been sitting in your refrigerator? Do you think it's wise to eat the old cake? With the two men, I went down the door of the sub-cellar, but found the cats already dispersed. Later to explore the crypt, I resolved to explore the crypt below. But merely made a round of the traps. All were sprung, yet all were tenantless, satisfying myself that no one had heard the rats, save the felines and I. I sat in my study till morning, thinking profoundly and recalling every scrap of legend I had unearthed concerning the building I inhabited. I slept some in the forenoon, leaning back in one of the comfortable library chair, which my medieval plan of furnishing could not banish. Later, I telephoned Captain Norris, who came over and helped me explore the subcellar. It's in the fridge, not outside. If we heard the thud, its fist passed out. I was so close to passing out. Maybe I'll stop at like the 2-hour mark or something, just so that I have, just so that I have like an hour to nap before I have to go. Not the one yawning. You sure? Absolutely nothing untoward was found, although we could not repress a thrill at the knowledge that this vault was built by Roman hands. Every low arch and massive pillar was Roman, not the debased Romanesque of the build like Saxons, but the severe and harmonious classicism of the age, of the Caesars. Indeed, the walls abounded with inscriptions familiar to the antiquarians who had previously explored the place. Things like Pigete Peptona. I'm testing something. Don't worry about me. Yawning so much. I don't even know if I'll be able to get through one story with how much I'm yawning. Such were the sights in the crypt before whose door the cats howled. You trying to mutate it? Yawn. The reference to Attis made me shiver. Red Catullus, and I knew something of the hideous rites of the Eastern god, whose worship was so mixed with that of Seville. Norris and I, by the light of lanterns, tried to interpret the old, odd, and nearly effaced design on certain irregular, rectangular blocks of stone, generally held to be altars. We remembered that one pattern, a sort of rain sun, was held by students to imply a non-Roman origin, suggesting that these altars had merely been adopted by the Roman priests in some older and perhaps aboriginal temple on the same site. On one of these blocks were some brown stains which made me wonder. The largest in the center of the room had certain features of the upper surface which indicated connection with fire, probably burnt offerings. I just woke up from a nap and I just yawned because of this. Don't worry about it. Nap part 2. Come on, do it. I don't know how ASMR streamers do it. I am so sleepy. I've never felt sleepy this fast. Usually I have trouble sleeping after coffee, and now I'm here yawning. Hello, Signore Mango. Did you hear? They arrested the devil. Yeah, just gonna go sleep after the story. So much for reading stories. We're just reading a story now. I'm seriously having trouble keeping myself up. My car was haunted, so I called an exorcist to expel the ghost. When the bill came, it was too expensive, so my car was repossessed. No, the more you say don't yawn, the more I'm gonna yawn. And I did too. I'm not trying to hide my yawn. I'm just really sleepy now. I had to hide it by looking sideways. It's like 3 p.m. Yeah, but I'm also very tired. The gym. And typically I am sleeping at this hour after gym. You stop the stream and plan to go to bed. The sleepiness will be gone. I'm not even gonna read it. Such were the sights in the crypt before whose doors the cat howled. Edmund Norris and I determined to pass the night. Couches were brought down by the servant who sleeps in a crib. That's crazy. Who were told not to mind any nocturnal actions of the cats. My cat was admitted as much for help as for companionship. We decided to keep the great oak door, a modern replica with slits for ventilation, tightly closed. And with this attended to, we retired with lanterns still burning to await whatever might occur. Sleeping sounds good right now. The soft bed calling. Imagine lying down. I don't need to imagine. Remember the other day, I also had to stop what I was doing because I kept yawning because of a food coma. Oh yeah, and I had a huge lunch too. I tried including some of the salad dressing into my food, and now I understand like why my parents love it so much. I've been such a psycho, just like eating it without the salad dressing because of the calories. But now, like the calories are good. Okay, fine, they're not that good, but like I understand why some people would risk the calories for it. Also, hold on, I need to log calories for the coffee. Anyway, no, I don't need to yawn. The vault was very deep in the foundations of the priory. Undoubtedly. Down at the base of Beetling limestone cliff, overlooking the waste valley, that it had been the goal of the scuffling and unexplainable rats I could not tell why. We lay there expectantly. I found my vigil occasionally mixed with half-formed dreams, from which the uneasy motions of the cat across my feet would rouse me. It's on your first daily coffee, Beck. I've had 2 daily coffees. The dreams were not wholesome, but horribly like the one I had the night before. I saw again the Twilight Grotto and the swineherd with his unmentionable fungus beasts wallowing in filth. And as I looked at these things, they seemed never nearer and more distinct, so distinct that I could almost observe their features. Then I did observe the flabby features of one of them, already known what it was that made me scream, but I didn't remember till later. Ultimate horror often paralyzes memory in a merciful way. Oh my god. I'm so sleepy. Fuck. Norris woke me when the phenomena began. Out of the same frightful dream, I was called by his gentle shaking and his urging to listen to the cats. Indeed, there was much to listen to. Beyond the closed door at the head of the stone steps was a veritable nightmare of feline yelling and clawing, whilst my cat, unmindful of his kindred outside, was running excitedly around the bare stone walls, in which I heard the same babel of scurrying rats that had troubled me the night before. Just cut it short. So sleepy. It's insane. Ready to go to bed. The acute terror now rose within me. For here were anomalies which nothing normal could well explain. These rats, if not creatures of a madness, which I shared with the cats alone, must be burrowing and sliding in Roman walls. I had thought to be solid limestone blocks, unless perhaps the action of water through more than 17 centuries had eaten winding tunnels which rodent bodies had worn clear and ample. But even so, the spectral horror was no less. If these were living vermin, why did Norris hear their disgusting commotion? Why did he urge me to watch the cat and listen to the cats outside? And why did he generally, wildly guess at what could have been aroused there? By the time I'd managed to tell him, as rationally I could, what I thought I was hearing, my ears gave me the last fading impression of scurrying, which had retreated still downwards, far underneath the deepest of subcellars, till it seemed as if the whole cliff below were riddled with questing rats. This was not as skeptical as I had anticipated, but instead seemed profoundly moved. He motioned to me to notice that the cats at the door had ceased their clamor, as if giving up the rats for lost. My cat had a burst of renewed restlessness. It was clawing frantically around the bottom of the large stone altar at the center of the room, which was near Nora's couch that time. My fear of the unknown was at this point very great. Something astounding had occurred, and I saw that Captain Norris, a younger, stouter, presumably more materialistic man, was affected only as much as myself. Perhaps because of this lifelong and innate intimate familiarity with local legend, we could not for the moment do nothing. The old black cat, as he pawed with decreasing fervor the base of the altar, occasionally looking up and meowing to me in that persuasive manner which he used to when he wished me to perform some favor for him. story I'm reading. Maurice took a lantern close to the altar and examined the place where my cat was pawing silently, kneeling, scraping away the lichens of the centuries which joined the massive pre-Roman block to the desolated floor. He didn't find anything and was about to abandon his efforts when I noticed a trivial circumstance which made me shudder, even though it implied nothing, almost nothing more than I had already imagined. Just close your eyes for a minute. No, totally not getting more food. You were tripping, yes. I did not call your name. God, I am so sleepy. My head is like falling backward, and my eyes do not want to open. I told him of it, and we both looked at its almost imperceptible manifestation with a fixedness, fascinated discovery and acknowledgement. It was only this that the flame of the lantern set down near the altar was slightly, but certainly flickering from a draught of air which it had not received. An altar which came indubitably from the crevice beneath the floor. Altar where Norris was scraping away at the lichens. I remember one day I was fighting for my sleep. While playing lead, thank God, was Ura. I remember walking down the middle of the map. Next thing I know, I was back at spawn. Oh no, don't throw. We spent the rest of the night in the brilliantly lighted study, nervously discussing what we should do next. Discovery that some fall deeper than the deepest known masonry of the forts. Merely the accursed pile. Some fall unsuspected by the curious antiquarians of their 3 centuries, but have been sufficed to excite a background of the sinister, as it was the fascination became twofold. We paused in doubt whether to abandon our search and quit the prairie forever in superstitious caution, or to gratify our sense of adherence and brave wherever horrors might await the unknown. It's okay, it was just Aram. I don't know League heroes. By morning we had compromised and decided to go to London. Together, knowledgists and scientific men fit to cope with the mystery. It should be mentioned that before leaving, the sub-cellar Bailey Central, which now recognized as the gate of the new pit of nameless fear. What secret would open the gate? What man? Then we would find. What secret would open the gate? Wiser man than we would find. Hello, Tachi. How are you doing? I hope much better for your family. Toxic teammate, intentional grief. Yawning a lot. During my days in London, Captain Lawrence and I presented our facts, conjectures, and legendary anecdotes to 5 eminent authorities. necessary to name them all, but I may say included Sir William Brandon, whose excavations in the Trode excited most of the world in their day. I'm sorry. As we all took the train for Manchester, I felt myself poised on the brink of frightful revelations, sensations symbolized by the name among the many events at the unexpected death of the president on the other side of the side of the world, not war. The evening of 7 August, we reached Exham, where the servants assured me that nothing unusual had occurred. The cats, even my oldest one, had been perfectly placid and not trapped, and the house had been sprung. We were to begin exploring on the following day, awaiting which I assigned well-appointed room to my guests. I myself retired in my own tower chamber. As across my feet, sleep came quickly. Potatious dreams assailed me. The vision of a Roman feast, like that of Trimalchio, his filthy covered platter. Then came the damnable current thing about the swineherd and his filthy drove in the grotto. Yet when I awoke, it was full daylight, with normal sounds in the house. The rats, living or spectral, had not troubled me, while my cat was still quietly serene. Asleep. Going down, I found the exact same tranquility had prevailed elsewhere, a condition in which one of the assembled servants, a fellow named Thompson, devotedly psychic, or rather absurdly, laid to the fact that I had now been showing the thing which certain forces had wished me to show. Oh my god, there's so much more story. Frick. How do people do this? All was now ready at 11 a.m. Our entire group of 7. Are you there, Viz? I am so close to sleeping. Like the words are just melting together. Our group of 7 men, bearing powerful electric screen lights and implements of excavation, went down the subcellar, bolted the door behind. Our cat was with us, for the investigators found no occasion to despise his excitability, and indeed were anxious that he be present in the case to obscure rodent manifestors. That do it after taking a good rest, Viz, not having a fruit coma. Close your eyes for a minute. I'm going to fall asleep if I do that, even if my eyes are already closed. Noted Roman inscriptions and unknown altar designs. Briefly, 3 of the savants had already seen them and characters. Oh my god. Holy shit. I nodded into my mic. Holy shit. Prime attention was paid to the moment the central altar, and within an hour, Sir Brendan had caused it to tilt backwards, balanced by some unknown species of counterweight. telling the story. Holy shit. Just nodded off. There now lay revealed such a horror as would have overwhelmed us had we not been prepared. You're usually the one tucking me in at night. Now I get to do it to you. This was supposed to be me tucking people into stream, not me falling asleep. Though nearly a square opening on the tiled floor, sprawling in a flight of stone steps so prodigiously worn, that it was a little more than an inclined plane at the center, was a ghastly array of human or semi-human bones, those which retained their collocation as skeletons showed attitudes of panic, fear, and overall were marks of rodents gnawing. The skulls denoted nothing short of utter idiocy. Cretinism and primitive self-aped them. You can't get those 4 minutes. I can and I will. Above the hellishly littered steps arched a descending passage, seemingly chiseled from the solid rock, and conducted a current of air. This current was not sudden and noxious, from a closed vault, but a cool breeze with something of freshness in it. We did not pause long enough, but shiveringly began to clear a passage down the steps. It was then Sir William, examining the hewn walls, made the odd observation that the passage, according to the direction of strokes, must have been chiseled from beneath. I must be very deliberate now and choose my words. After plowing steps amidst gnawed bones, we saw that there was light ahead. Not any mystic phosphorescence, but a filtered daylight which could not come except from unknown fissures in the cliff that overlooked the waste valley. Such fissures that escaped notice from outside was hardly remarkable. We're gonna lose Alter from food coma too. There. My mic almost stepped over when we nodded off into it. A few steps more and our breaths were literally snatched from us by what we saw. So literally that Thornton, a psychic investigator, actually fainted in the arms of the dazed men who stood behind him. His plump face, utterly white and flabby, simply cried out, whilst I think that what I did was to gasp or hisp and covered my eyes, doubling my coffee intake. So I haven't yawned yet. At least one of us hasn't yawned. The man behind me, the only one of the party older than I, croaked and nagged me. My God, the most cracked voice I've ever heard. Of 7 cultivated men, only Sir William Brinton retained his composure, a thing the more to his credit because he had led the party, must have seen the sight first. It was a twilight grotto of enormous height, stretching away farther than any eye could see, a subterraneous world of limitless mystery and horrible suggestion. There were buildings, other architectural remains. In one terrified glance, I saw a weird pattern of tumuli, a savage circle of monoliths, a low-domed Roman ruin, a sprawling Saxon pile, and an early English edifice of wood. But all of these were dwarfed by ghoulish spectacle presented by the general surface of the ground. For yards above, the extended and insane, the steps extended an insane tangle of human bones, or bones at least as human as those on the steps. Like a foamy sea, they stretch, some fallen apart, but others wholly or partly articulated as skeletons. Thank you for the lurk, Altarian. These latter invariably in postures of demonic frenzy, either fighting off some menace or clutching other forms of cannibal intent. God. And Dr. Thrask, the anthropologist, stopped to classify the skulls. He found a degraded mixture which utterly baffled him. They were mostly lower than the Piltdown Man in the scale of evolution, but in every case definitely human. Many were of higher grade, and very few were the skulls of supremely and sensitively developed types. All the bones were gnawed mostly by rats, but somewhat by other of the half-human drove. Many of them were many tiny bones of rats fallen, members of the lethal army, which closed the ancient epic. How many pages left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 paragraphs left. Oh God. Can I even finish that? Good luck. Thank you. ASMR part 2. I'll just be snoring into the mic. I wonder would any man among us lived and kept his sanity through that hideous day of discovery. Not Hoffman, nor Usman could convince a scene more wildly incredible, more frenetically repellent, or more gothically grotesque than the grotto which we 7 staggered, each stumbling on revelation after revelation, and trying to keep for nonce from thinking of the events which must have taken place 300 or 1,000 or 2,000, 10,000 years ago. It was the antechamber of hell, and poor Thornton fainted again when Thras told him that some of the skeleton things must have descended as quadrupeds through the 20 or more generations. Horror piled on horror as we began to interpret the architectural remains, the quadruped things with their occasional recruits from the pipette class had been kept in stone pens, of which they must have broken in their last delirium, or hunger, or rat fear. There had been great herds of them, evidently fattened on coarse vegetables whose remains could be found as a sort of poisonous ensilage at the bottom of the huge stone bench in Rome. Older than Rome. I now know why my ancestors had such excessive gardens. Would to heaven I could forget the purpose of herds I did not ask. Sir William, standing with his searchlight in the Roman ruins, translated aloud the most shocking ritual I have ever known, and told of the tide of antediluvian cult which the priests of Seville found and mingled with their own. Norris, used as he was to the trenches, could not walk straight when he came out of the English building. It was a butcher shop and kitchen. He had expected that, but was too much to see familiar English implements in such a place, and to read familiar English graffiti, some as recent as 1610. I could not go into that building, whose demon activities were stopped only by the dagger of my ancestor, Altar de la Puer. That I ventured to enter was the low Saxon building, whose oaken door has fallen. 1610 recent is the real horror. It's recent to me. Back in my day, Lovecraft was like the thing of horror that we read in our book clubs, you know. And there, what I did and venture to enter was the low Saxon building, whose oaken door has fallen. And there, I found a terrible row of 10 stone cells with rusty bars. 3 had tenants, all skeletons of high grade, and on the bony forefinger of one, I found a seal ring with my own coat of arms. Sir William found a vault with far older cells than the Roman chapels, but these cells were empty. Below them was a low crypt with cases of formally arranged bones, some of them bearing terrible inscriptions carved in Latin, Greek, and the tongue of Phrygia. This is giving Dwemer and Falmer vibes, you know. Meanwhile, Dr. Trask had opened one of the prehistoric tumuli and brought the light skulls, which were slightly more human than a gorilla's, and which bore indescribably ideographic carvings. Through all this horror, my cat stalked unperturbed. Once I saw him monstrously perched atop a mountain of bones and wondered at the secrets that might lie behind his yellow eyes. The cat knows. Having grasped to some slight degrees the frightful revelations of this twilight area, an area so hideously foreshadowed by my recurrent dream, returned to that apparently boundless depth of midnight cavern where no ray of light from the cliff could penetrate. We shall never know what sightless Stygian worlds yawn beyond the little distance we went. It was decided that such secrets are not good for mankind. But there was plenty to engross us close at hand, where we had not gone far beyond the searchlights showed what a cursed infinity of pits in which the rats have feasted, and whose sudden lack of replenishment have driven the ravenous rodent army first to turn on the living herds of starving things, and then to burst forth from the prairie in that historic orgy, devastations which the peasants will never forget. May, congrats on your daily coffee. Let me just take this break and drink water for myself. Are we the peasants? Were you the peasants that witnessed the rats? What's horrifying was that his ancestors kept people, or something close to that, in pens at the bottom of his house. Crazy at us. I hate ASMR, so I'm just lurking. But I love you and love your commitment. Thank you, May. We're just testing it out, and so far, I'm putting myself to sleep. Thank you for the hydrate, and thank you for the stretch. I really can't. I'm putting myself to sleep. Listening to this to increase my cringe tolerance. Just quieter voice would be doable than whispers. Yeah, Swift songs. Those nightmare chasms choked with the Pi the Catherpoid, Celtic, Roman, and English bones of countless unhallowed centuries. Oh, I don't want a lot for Christmas. There's just one thing I need. Just sing anything. Doesn't need to be anime. Don't most VTubers sing anime songs though. Some of them were full, and none can say how deep they had once been. Others were still bottomless to our searchlights and peopled by unnameable fancies. What I thought of the hapless rats that stumbled into such traps amidst the blackness of their quest in this grisly Tartarus. Make Seru sing with you. No, it's okay. Seru sings well on her own. Yes, more paragraphs. To take a nap. Schubert and yawn for 30 minutes trying to do ASMR. I'm yawning. My skin is tingling and my head is buzzing. I'm so close to taking a nap. I feel like afterwards, whatever nap I do, it's gonna be so good. Once my foot slipped near a horribly yawning brink that I had a moment of ecstatic fear. I must have been musing for a long time, for I could not see any of the party but a plump Captain Norris. Then there was the sound from that inky, boundless, farther distance than I thought I knew, and I saw my own black cat dart past me like a winged Egyptian god, straight into the illimitable gulf of the unknown. But what I was not far behind, for there was no doubt another second, was the eldritch scurrying of those fiend-born rats, always questing for new horrors and determined to lead me on, even unto those grinning caverns of Earth's center, where the Nyarlathotep, the mad faceless god, howls blindly in the darkness, the piping of two amorphous idiot flute players. My searchlight expired, but I still ran. Voices, yowls, and echo. But above all, there gently rose the impious, insidious scurrying, gently rising as a stiff bloated corpse gently rises above an oily river that flows under the endless onyx bridges to a black putrid sea. Someone bumped into me at something soft and plump. It must have been the rats. I don't know what that screaming is. The viscous, gelatinous, ravenous army that feast on the dead and the living. Why shouldn't rats eat the Telepoer? As the Telepoer eats forbidden things. Oh my god, his ancestors were eating people. The war ate my boy. Damn them all. The Yanks ate Carfax with flames and burned Grandshire de la Poor and the secret. No, I tell you, I am not that demon swineherd in the Twilight Grotto. It was not Edward Norris's fat face on the flabby fungus thing. It's voodoo, I tell you. The spotted snake curse you, Thornton. I'll teach you to faint at what my family does. His blood thou stinkard, I'll learn ye how to gust. Would ye swine me thou wakes? Magna Mater, Adis Daya, Aga Dauton, Agus Patunak. I do not know what he's chanting at this point. This is what they say I said when they found me in the blackness after 3 hours. Found me crouching in the blackness of the plump, half-eaten body of Captain Norris, with my own cat leaping and tearing at my throat. Now they have blown a Maxim, taken my cat away from me, and shut me in this barred room, and how the fearful whispers about my heredity and experience. Thornton is in the next room, but they prevent me from talking to him. They are trying to suppress most of the facts concerning the prior. When I speak of poor Norris, they accuse me of this hideous thing, but they should know I didn't do it. They must know it was the rats, the slithering, scurrying rats whose scampering will never let me sleep. The demon rats that behind the padding in this room and beckon me down the great horrors that I have ever known. The rats they can never hear. The rats in the walls. Oh, so he's crazy. This man is crazy and he killed people. Or he eats people. You know that copy pasta? The crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room. Copy. Let's read that before we end stream. But yeah, I am sleepy, so I'm going to go to bed after this. Crazy. I was crazy once. They locked me in a room, a rubber room with the rats, and rats make me crazy. Alright, that's it. Thank you guys for making it through this with me. I'm going to take a nap because I am nodding off. I can't believe I only lasted one horror story. But good night. Yes, you have definitely lost me. I am going to take a nap. I think you can do this without whispering. Next time we'll try one without whispering. But for now, I'm going to take a nap. Night, everyone. Thank you for hanging out. Bye-bye.